Hey, we're going to be looking at the public comments, AuditLA, the People's Karen.
People's Karen, yeah.
And I mean that in like the most
I think so too.
endearing way.
Let's just jump into it. We've got a bunch of her public comments here that we're going to listen to and just analyze.
All right.
So what is it about AuditLA that makes her so fascinating to you?
Well, she's just so persistent.
Yeah.
She shows up week after week, and she's just got this really strong personality that comes through. She's got this confrontational but also humorous style,
Right.
Like she's not afraid to kind of like call people out, but she does it in a way that's also kind of funny.
Yeah, like that one time where she said like, you guys think you're playing chess, but you're not. You only have the skill set of playing checkers.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was directed at the commissioners, by the way.
Yeah.
So she's not afraid to
She's not afraid to go toe to toe.
yeah, ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
You got to give her credit. She's pretty funny.
Oh, it's incredibly entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what makes her really stand out is that she's fearless when it comes to advocacy, especially for people with disabilities.
Right. And it seems like that's something that's very near and dear to her heart.
Mm-hmm.
She's always bringing up ADA compliance and how difficult it is to navigate the city in a wheelchair.
Well, and she does that very effectively, because she connects her own personal experiences with these broader issues.
Right.
And it makes it much more relatable and harder to dismiss.
It definitely adds like a human element to these meetings that can sometimes be pretty dry.
Yeah.
So
it's not just about policy, it's about people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and I think that's one of the things that people can learn from her is to make those connections between your own personal story and the broader issue.
And to not be afraid to really push for those changes.
To be a strong advocate for yourself and for others.
Right. So speaking of pushing for changes,
yes,
one of the things that AuditLA is very passionate about are those planters that are surrounding the Scientology building.
The planters.
Have you?
Yeah, the infamous planters.
Yeah. Have you been following this saga at all?
I have been following it. Yes, it's quite a story. It's like a soap opera unfolding in real time.
It really is. So basically, what's happening is that AuditLA is claiming that these planters are blocking easements and that they're not ADA compliant.
Right, and she's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some legitimate concerns there.
And she also talks a lot about how close the planters are to the curb,
right,
which makes them an obstacle for wheelchair access.
And that's a valid point.
Yeah, so she's not wrong about that.
She's bringing up important issues.
Yeah, but maybe just like the way that she's going about it could use a little bit of refinement.
Perhaps a little bit. Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting saga to follow.
Oh, it's fascinating to watch it unfold.
Okay, so it's not just the planters though, right?
No.
She's also got
She's got a lot to say.
Issues with the permits that are being issued for Scientology events.
Right.
Which often involve street closures and create potential safety hazards.
Right. And her concerns about those permits actually speak to a larger issue. Which is transparency and accountability,
Yeah, like is the city really prioritizing
the
needs of its residents?
Or are there other factors at play? And those are the kinds of questions that AuditLA is forcing everyone to consider.
She's not afraid to bring up those tough questions.
No, she's not.
Even if it makes people uncomfortable.
And that's what makes her so valuable, because she's not letting these things slide.
Right.
She's calling attention to them and making sure that they're being addressed.
And she also doesn't let up.
No, she does not.
I mean, week after week, she's there.
She's there.
Talking about
week after week.
Street closures.
Yeah. And potential fire lane blockages.
Yeah, and potential fire lane blockages. So it's clear that she's not going to back down.
No, she's in it for the long haul.
Until she sees some changes.
And that's admirable.
Let's move on to the fun part.
Okay.
The AuditLA rating.
The AuditLA rating. I like this.
All right, so we're going to use a scale of 1 to 5.
Got it.
5 being the highest.
Okay.
And we're going to rate her on a few different criteria.
All right, let's do it.
First up, time management.
Time management. Okay.
How do you think?
Well, given her tendency to, cover a lot of ground.
And her frustration with those new
rules.
Public comment rules.
Yeah. I'm going to give her a 3 for time management.
Okay.
I think she's got a lot to say.
Yeah, she does.
And she's not always the best at staying within the time limits.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, articulation.
Articulation. Oh.
What do you think?
She's clearly a passionate and articulate speaker. Her language, as we've discussed, is very vivid.
Yeah.
I think there are moments when a bit more clarity and conciseness could strengthen her arguments.
Okay.
So I'm going to give her a solid 4 for articulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for the content of her comments.
Content, okay.
What are your thoughts?
Well, she consistently brings up important local issues like ADA compliance and permit enforcement.
Yeah.
So she's definitely on the right track. She's not just complaining.
Yeah.
She's raising legitimate concerns that deserve attention.
Yeah.
However, as we mentioned earlier, sometimes the way she presents these issues could be more focused.
A little more focused.
A little more focused. So I'm going to give her a 4 for content.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
I think there's room for improvement there.
Okay. This next one's a no-brainer.
Okay.
Entertainment value.
Entertainment value.
What do you think?
Come on, a 5.
Yeah.
A 5 for sure.
5 out of 5.
She's a riot.
The people's Karen delivers.
She is the people's Karen.
Okay.
And she delivers the entertainment.
And last but not least,
okay,
educational value.
Educational value.
All of her words.
Oh, this is a good one.
So what do you think?
Because beyond the entertainment, she is also raising awareness about important civic issues, especially those impacting people with disabilities. So her comments are actually sparking conversations and forcing people to think about things they might not have considered before.
Right.
So for that, I'm going to give her a 4 for educational value.
A 4. Okay.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Okay, so let's imagine for a moment that AuditLA takes all of this advice to heart.
Okay, I like this.
Right. And she comes back to the next Public Works Commission meeting.
All right.
With a slightly revamped approach.
Okay.
What does that look like?
Instead of just making demands,
she
proposes a solution.
Okay.
Maybe suggesting a compromise that addresses, both the concerns of the city and the needs of the disabled community. The key is to find that balance between passion and persuasion.
Yeah.
And by combining her undeniable charisma with a more strategic approach.
Okay.
She could become an even more powerful force for change in Los Angeles.
So it's not about silencing her voice.
No, not at all.
It's about helping her amplify it.
Exactly.
In a way that's both effective and impactful.
And it reminds us that civic engagement is a process, Yeah. And we all have room to grow and evolve.
We're all on a journey.
We are.
To become better advocates.
Exactly. And remember, even the most seasoned public speakers can benefit from a little self-reflection.
Yeah.
And a willingness to adapt their approach.
Let's zoom out for a moment.
Okay.
And consider the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What does AuditLA's presence at these meetings?
I like that.
Tell us about civic engagement.
Good question.
In Los Angeles.
That is a really thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you could see AuditLA as a symptom of a system that's not working for everyone.
Yeah, like she's there because she feels like her concerns and the concerns of those she advocates for aren't being heard.
Exactly.
Through traditional channels.
Right.
It's like she's hitting a brick wall.
She's got to resort to more unconventional methods.
Yeah, and has to resort to more unconventional methods to get someone's attention.
Her persistence, even when faced with setbacks or pushback, really suggests a real frustration.
Yeah.
With the lack of responsiveness, from those in power.
It's almost like a canary in a coal mine.
Ooh, I like that.
Like a warning sign. That communication between the government and the people it represents has broken down.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
but on the other hand, you could also view AuditLA as a sign of a healthy democracy.
Okay.
She's exercising her right to free speech.
Right.
She's holding her elected officials accountable and, participating, albeit sometimes disruptively, in the messy process of civic discourse.
So love her or hate her, she's making use of the tools available to her.
She is.
To try and make a difference.
And her presence also shines a light on the importance of accessibility and inclusion in these civic spaces.
Yeah.
Her consistent advocacy for the disabled community reminds us that not everyone has equal access. Yeah,
it's like she's holding up a mirror. To society, forcing us to confront those inequalities.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Now, regardless of how you feel about AuditLA's approach, there's no denying she's made an impact.
She has gotten people talking.
Yeah.
And that's a win in itself.
Yeah, and love it or hate it.
Right.
She's injected
some much needed
passion.
Passion and humor.
Yes. Into what can often feel like a very dry and bureaucratic process.
It's true. She's shaken things up a bit.
Yeah. One thing's for sure. AuditLA's story reminds us that every voice matters.
Every voice matters.
And we all have the power to shape our communities.
We do.
So stay engaged, stay informed.
Get informed.
And maybe, just maybe channel your inner people's Karen.
I love it.
Every now and then.
And remember.
What was it?
A well-placed metaphor never hurts.
There you go.
That's right.
All right. That's all for this episode.
This deep dive.
Of the deep dive.
Into the people's Karen.
Thanks for joining us.